What if the next billion-dollar beauty brand didn't start in a lab, but in a small Brooklyn kitchen, next to the stove, between the rent bills and the dreams? What if the woman stirring that pot wasn't trying to build an empire, but to heal her own skin, and ended up healing a generation's relationship with itself? This is the story of how one black woman turned $100 worth of oils and butters into a brand so powerful, even L'Oreal, the world's biggest beauty company, had to take notice. It's a story about love and legacy, about community and capitalism, and the complicated price of success when your culture becomes your business. This is Black Business Files, and today we're unpacking the rise, fall, and rebirth of Carol's Daughter, from kitchen experiments to L'Oreal. It all began in a small Brooklyn kitchen, the kind that smelled like love, warmth, and hustle. In the early 1990s, a young woman named Lisa Price stood over her stove, stirring something that would eventually transform not just her life, but the beauty industry itself. She wasn't a chemist or an executive. She was simply trying to create products that cared for her skin the way her mother cared for her, with love, patience, and understanding. But what started as an act of self-care became a movement. Lisa worked in television production on The Cosby Show, but her passion lived in the kitchen. Her counters overflowed with glass jars, essential oils, and handwritten labels. She gave early samples to friends and family, and they kept coming back for more. Her mother, Carol Price, saw the spark. It was Carol who said, "You should sell this stuff." That gentle push changed everything. Lisa began selling at church bazaars, street fairs, and flea markets across Brooklyn and Harlem. She mixed batches late into the night, printed labels on her home computer, and packed every order by hand. Each sale brought a few more loyal customers, and one more reason to keep going. By the mid-1990s, she was running a full-time operation out of her home. Orders arrived by phone, friends became employees, and her kitchen became a small factory. In 1999, she opened her first boutique in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, its air thick with the scent of shea butter and lavender. That same year, she launched a simple website, long before most small businesses sold online. By the early 2000s, what began as a side hustle had become a booming homegrown business. Carol's Daughter grossed more than $2.25 million in 2002. No venture capital, no marketing agency, just community trust and a product that worked. By 2002, the whisper had become a roar. Black magazines, beauty salons, and radio shows couldn't stop talking about the Brooklyn woman mixing miracles in her kitchen. Then came the Oprah Winfrey Show. Lisa's segment on Remembering Your Spirit sent orders flooding in from across the country. Among those paying attention was music executive Steve Stoute. He introduced Lisa to his circle, Jay-Z, Mary J. Blige, and Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, who saw not just a brand but a movement ready for the mainstream. The homemade jars from Brooklyn were about to hit the big leagues. In 2005, that dream became real. A star-studded investor group led by Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, Mary J. Blige, Jay-Z, and Steve Stoute poured in roughly $10 million to help Lisa scale. Carol's Daughter opened boutiques in major cities and secured shelves in Sephora, Macy's, and Target. The brand's messaging was powerful, natural, authentic, unapologetically black. For the first time, a black-owned beauty line wasn't chasing trends, it was setting them. But growth has gravity. Every store, every shipment, every expansion pulled Lisa further from that kitchen table. Manufacturing costs climbed. Competitors copied her formulas and undercut her prices. Rapid retail expansion strained cash flow. In April 2014, the freestanding store subsidiary filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Not the parent brand, but its retail arm. The move closed most stores yet kept the brand alive. Lisa later admitted they'd grown faster than their infrastructure could handle. The brand wasn't failing, it was stretching. She faced a choice: scale back the dream or find a partner strong enough to keep it alive. In October 2014, L'Oreal USA announced it would acquire Carol's Daughter. The terms were undisclosed, but Women's Wear Daily estimated $27 million in sales for the prior year, and analysts placed the deal between $60 and $70 million. On paper, it was validation. A Brooklyn startup now part of the world's largest beauty family. But the community split in two. Some saw victory, others saw betrayal. To many, Carol's daughter had felt like theirs, a reflection of self now owned by a corporation. Lisa said later, "It felt like people thought I had sold them, not the company." Few realized the sale likely saved the brand. Without L'Oreal, Carol's daughter might have disappeared. The deal brought labs, logistics, and global reach, and Lisa stayed on as founder and creative voice to protect its spirit. These are the stories we tell, of creativity, compromise, and the relentless will to build something that lasts. If you believe these stories matter, tap that like button, subscribe to Black Business Files, and help us keep documenting the legacies that changed our culture. By the early 2020s, its products were sold in more than 30,000 US stores, a milestone few indie brands ever reach. The mission broadened: celebrate textured hair everywhere. Sales grew, and L'Oreal held up Carol's daughter as proof that inclusivity could drive profit. Yet success came with trade-offs. Some longtime customers noticed changes, new packaging, slightly different formulas, and felt something intangible had shifted. It wasn't just the product, it was ownership. 10 years after the sale, the story came full circle. On March 3, 2025, L'Oreal USA announced it was divesting Carol's daughter to a new ownership group led by entrepreneur Joe Wong, with Lisa Price returning as president and equity holder. Financial terms weren't disclosed, but the symbolism was clear. The founder had reclaimed her name. Lisa said she wanted to reconnect Carol's daughter to its roots, to the women who built it. This wasn't nostalgia. It was restoration. A Black woman reclaiming the brand that carried her mother's name, her family's story, and her community's pride. She didn't buy it back to relive the past. She came back to protect its soul. When her mother Carol Price passed away in 2003, Lisa promised herself that her mother's name would live on in something greater than either of them. Today, every bottle that bears the name Carol's daughter keeps that promise alive, a tribute to the woman who first said, "You should sell this stuff." The brand proved that authenticity could compete on a global stage, that a kitchen recipe could stand beside corporate giants. Lisa Price opened the door for Shea Moisture, Miel Organics, Pattern Beauty, and a generation of founders who saw culture as capital. From $100 in ingredients to multi-million-dollar sales, to a full-circle comeback a decade later, Lisa Price's story shows that success isn't about the sale. It's about the story you're strong enough to reclaim. This is Black Business Files, where we uncover the stories behind the brands that shaped our world, one dream, one deal, and $1 at a time. If this story moved you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone building their own vision from scratch. Because every great business starts the same way, with a little faith, a lot of fight, and a whole lot of heart.